Hey guys, welcome to another tabletop review. Today we're going to go over my grandpa's MR762 by H&K. Now a lot of you that have been subscribed to my channel know that I actually have the MR556, which is right here. Now this is going to be the big brother to the MR556. The military designation is going to be the HK417. A lot of the times the 417 will come in I think it's like an 11.5 or 11.7 inch barrel, but this one that comes from the factory is the 16.5 inch, and it is in 7.62 by 51 or 308 Winchester. It's really a pretty good rifle. It's really soft recoiling. This is actually the first 308 rifle that I've ever shot, and it really doesn't have a significant recoil impulse. When I went to zero it, because this is a relatively new optic, when I went to zero it, I ended up zeroing it at 100 yards, but I was hitting a steel plate at 300 with no problems. I actually knocked that plate down eventually, but it's a very accurate rifle. I think it could, very well contend with the rifles like the SR25 or the M110, or, basically any 308 battle rifle, because that's what this is. It is a piston system, much like the MR556. It's actually the exact same. There are some subtle differences. You'll notice right off the bat that it has two of these screws that are retaining the handguard, and the MR556 only has one. That's just because it's, beefed up design. We will go over the magazine. The magazine is quite interesting. It's, H&K proprietary. So this is the 10 round. As you can see, the standard, AR-15 style magazine. It's pretty quality polymer, but it does kind of suck that it's not a standard magazine like the SR25 or the Armalite pattern magazines. As far as the ergonomics of the rifle, it's fully ambidextrous. As you can see, the selectors on both sides from the factory, and the charging handle is actually not ambidextrous, which is not a big deal to me since I'm right-handed. But that's one thing that's not ambidextrous, and neither is the mag release. This is the only mag release on the rifle. One thing that I don't really like about the MR series that H&K has made, and this is for a reason, but it's the pivot pins or takedown pins. It requires a tool which is found conveniently in the buttstock. Sorry, I'm not looking at it, but it has a takedown tool, which is a kind of a pain to do. I know a lot of guys have swapped them out for just the standard pins, which is totally understandable. I would do the same if this were my rifle, but let's see. So let me zoom in real quick. So as you can see, there's this tiny hole right here, and this is the part of the tool that goes in it. So you have to depress this detent inside of the pin, and then you can take out the pin. So you can see how it's not easy at all. Same with the back one. So that is the pins. So we'll just go ahead and take this lower. So as you can see, that little ball detent is kind of the reason that I have to use that tool, and H&K uses it to reduce play in the receivers, and I can kind of see how that could be true, but it's kind of inconvenient, and I don't really like the design. So inside the lower receiver, you can see that we have just the standard AR-15 style trigger. It does have some kind of weird differences. The hammer looks a little bit different. My lighting is kind of messed up, but it's not the standard style AR-15 spring or hammer. I'm not sure if they're interchangeable. I'm pretty sure they are. I know Geisley makes a good option, a good trigger option for that. but it does, the MR series does allow you to put the rifle in safety with the hammer forward, which is not found on the standard AR-15, as you can see over here. It will not let you put it in safety with the hammer forward. Which, I mean, it's kind of a cool feature, but is it really that big of a deal? Not really to me, but that is what is found in the lower. Now, something interesting is just taking a look at the bolt, which, of course, this is a piston system. So here we have the MR762 bolt. This thing is huge. I've never seen a 308 bolt, of course, but I know without a doubt that this thing is huge. Just for a quick comparison, I will go ahead and take out my MR556 bolt. So as you can see, the bolt is similar in design with the MR762 and the MR556. Not really much is different, but I will say that the spring mechanism in the 762 bolt is not quite as strong as is found in the MR556. That's where you can see the kind of springiness in the bolt carrier, and that is the firing pin spring. This one does have a firing pin spring, but it is, maybe it's just not strong enough to push the bolt forward like on the other rifle. Now, as you can have known in my previous video about the MR556, I said the system is not exactly perfect in its design, being like perfectly clean, as you can tell, but it is definitely an improvement over the standard direct impingement system. My hands would be covered in black if I was touching my Mark 18 bolt. They both have the firing pin safety found on the top of it. So that's where you get into a lot of the trigger incompatibilities, is on the MR556 rifle that the hammer actually has to lift up this firing pin safety in order to engage the firing pin. So that's where you get a lot of the triggers not working with the MR556. I have a Timney trigger, a Timney drop-in AR-15 trigger, and it does work, but it's not on the list on HK Pro, which I don't know about that. But this is the comparison between the bolt carriers. So one of the other annoyances with the match rifle series that a lot of people have is the fact that you can't take the bolt carrier apart with a standard 5.56 cartridge like you can on the AR-15 family. This, you have to use the tool that H&K gives you. I'm going to start on the MR556 rifle. So you're going to put the pin through this and drive it out on the other side. So that will release the tension on the firing pin safety right here. So it will drop outside of the rifle. There you have the firing pin and the firing pin spring. And then you can take out the bolt with a standard cam pin. And there you have the bolt on the MR556. And that is the basic field strip of the MR556 bolt carrier. So with that aside, it's the same process on the MR762. So you're just going to push this pin out. That's retaining the firing pin safety. You're going to pull it out through the other side, and that will relieve the tension on that spring. So you can just pull it out. So standard firing pin safety, and once again the cam pin. So as you can see, the two bolts are very similar in design. I mean, one would say that they're identical, but you will notice that the MR762 has two little extractors, while the MR556 only has one. I'm pretty sure this is the similar thing with the SR25 family. I'm not really familiar with 308s. This is my first one, So that's some differences on the bolt. One will also notice that the markings on the 556 are just a little bit different. I don't know if it'll focus, but it actually has the crest, the German crest, on the 556 bolt carrier, whereas the other one, it has markings but no crest. So it has the HKDE markings, and then it has the date code, the ADBC, but no German crest. So then the firing pins obviously are different. It's almost double the length. But those are the differences between the two bolt carriers. So something that's mildly annoying to a lot of MR556 owners is going to be this notch right here. Now what this notch is it indexes with the notch that's found on the bolt carrier, which basically is going to prevent people from running in full auto. So as you can see, this is the notch on the 556. This is the notch on the 308 right here. And both of the uppers are going to have this little notch that is on the barrel extension. Now, places like investment grade firearms, they can take off this notch, and they can also modify the bolt carrier to where you could run full auto. But unfortunately, a lot of us, people who don't have transferable machine guns or SOTs, don't need to mess with that. So that's just something that annoys people a lot with the match rifle series by HK. And similarly to the takedown spring, the takedown pin found in the buttstock, you have to use a Allen wrench to take off the handguard on the MR762. There you have the MR762 without the handguard. I'll go ahead and take off my MR556. And something interesting about the HK416 rail is it does not require a tool to take down. As you can see, the sort of like Phillips looking style head actually interfaces with the bolt lugs. So take your bolt and just engage it right there. And there you go. Kind of an interesting design. Kind of makes me a little uneasy. I definitely don't torque it down using my bolt carrier, but definitely an interesting design there. So you can see a lot of the similarities are still there in the piston system. I'm not sure if they are interchangeable. So we'll go ahead and take them out. They look pretty much identical. The sizes of them in each. So I'm going to probably say that they are interchangeable and that they are the same mechanism. I'm not sure if the spring have a different weight. Doesn't feel like it. No. And then the gas pistons, as you can see, are the same as well. So, I mean, as you can tell, my MR556 has seen a lot more rounds than the MR762. But this is where you get all the gas, all the carbon buildup in the system is going to be right here. So that's the cool thing about the HK system. So as you can see, the barrel nuts look quite a bit different. This is where the two screws on the handguard actually sit in to hold them on, and the MR556 only has one. This is probably due to the more recoil on the 308, and just they needed a more secure barrel nut. But this barrel nut is huge. Moving on to the gas blocks, The gas blocks actually look really similar as well. Once again, I'm not sure if they are interchangeable, but they do look a lot the same. They both have the same style of coil pins to retain them, and both have the little notch for the front sight, the folding front sight. So that's kind of interesting. So for the most part, the MR762 is exactly what you would want in a 308 battle rifle. You know, it's accurate. It's not super heavy. It is heavy, but it's a good gun. And if anyone doesn't mind dropping $3,500 on it, it's a good option. There are other platforms that perform just as well and are used by the military, but nevertheless, the HK MR762 is a good option. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.